Preservation Committee. Few announcements. I actually have some assisted listening devices in the back of the room, if anybody needs one. Hopefully Aaron and how those work too. In accordance with Resolution 2-2012, you're informed that Scott Stolson of Vincent Drive is recording tonight's meeting and posting on YouTube. Thank you, Scott. The meeting is also available and being recorded electronically on Microsoft Teams. And as usual for Land Preservation Committee, this is a friendly meeting. I ask that everybody be nice to each other and speak politely, and I'll do my best to make sure that your concerns are addressed. So step one, approval of the minutes. And we reviewed, and does anybody have any corrections or concerns about the minutes from the August 19th, 2025 meeting? And Barney. Any comments, additions, corrections? So, anybody want to make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Good. There's a second.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor of approving, say aye. Alright, so moving along to public comment. Anybody on this side of the room? Anything to add tonight before we get started with the agenda? All right. Anybody on this side? Aaron?
Yeah, I had a question for maybe Sarah. I thought she was going to be here regarding the on page 20. So I see she updated the natural resources map because there was a lot of properties in there that were already developed, like the mobile home parks along 322. I brought that up at the last couple meetings. Looks like that was addressed and they took those off.
Okay.
So that reduced the number of natural resource priorities from like, it was like almost 3,700 down to like 3,200. However, on page 29, the areas of unprotected priority lands, which is a number that is generated from those maps, remains the same at 6,700 acres. In 2018, it was 5,500 acres of unprotected priority lands. So my question is, I feel like that number should have gone down after they took all those properties out. It didn't. And so my question is, where is that number coming from? Because I think through my research, I think it's not accurate.
Sarah's still on.
Yeah.
But she'll be back next week. No, 2 weeks. So I think that's just an oversight on our part. That number should have been lowered to, whatever the current total is on, what is it, page?
So I think it's a really important number to get right because that number is going to determine the value we're placing on how much money overall it's going to take to preserve the last of the, the priority lands. So I think that number needs to be right.
Yeah, it just needs to be updated based upon, the new numbers that you mentioned, like removing some parcels that got incorrectly assigned. So, I mean, I can't give you a number off the top of my head, but I can certainly double check that number and get that updated.
Okay.
That's a quick GIS calculation.
And then, John, Warren had said I should talk to you. Can you kind of describe how the TDR, purchasing of TDR works?
Sure. So first we'll go to the basics, so everybody's clear. When you have your home and your property, you have your zoning, and that tells you how much density you have on your property. And then if you sell your property to a developer, a by right plan would be reflective of how much density that the zoning allows for. The transfer of development right program is meant to take as another tool, like the purchase of development right program through farmland preservation or conservation easement. Those are the tools I usually use. The TDRs is another tool to preserve in the sending areas that were defined in the comprehensive plan that was last done, and then in the zoning, and place that density in the receiving area. Now, how that density is, or how that is calculated was, and again, I haven't looked at it in a while, but I can pull up the zoning. I think the multiplier was reflective of the previous zoning, because if you recall back in, and again, please don't, I'm grabbing at this. I think it was 2008 where the comprehensive plan went in, introduced this idea with changing the zoning in the agricultural district. What were you before? Was it 2? Yeah, it went from 2 to 10. And so a way to use the tool and make everyone somewhat compensated, because that zoning, that down zoning, could potentially mean a loss of value per acre value. This was a way to create an opportunity or a tool from the development community to take that density, buying it from those setting areas and putting it in the receiving area, which was generally around Rockland Station. Did I get, where am I missing? What do you need me to elaborate?
The plan update talks about the township purchasing TDRs as a tool, like you said. I don't know that we've ever done that.
Not to my understanding.
So I'm curious how that would work, how much is a TDR worth?
So the way that the TDR program works, and it's not just Honeybrook, it's used nationwide. Lancaster has a very successful program using it. The market creates it. It's a private sector situation where a developer contacts a person who has development rights in the receiving area, or the bank, which would be what the township could be if they purchased those. And then the developer could make an offer, and that was what creates that value. Now, I'm also going to give my own personal opinion about this, and that is that, at least from what I can see in this township, and please correct me if I'm wrong, there is no place you want in this township to see development occurring, whether it's in the Rockland Station area or along 322. Every time we lose a farm, we're pretty upset about it. So what the township could do is purchase those development rights through that private means, the TDR program, and retire them. Or, if so be, they can sell, it's a liquid asset. You could sell it in the open market. It's just another means of accomplishing the goal of preservation.
I'm just trying to figure out how that value.
Again, this is where, when TDR was first introduced in the township, we really hadn't gotten going with the farmland preservation program. And we were listening to the Plainset community, and they were very reticent to get involved in the farmland preservation program because of county and state and municipal involvement. They were reticent to do it, and that's why so little had happened. through that dialogue, we introduced the TDR program, and they're like, so there would be nobody else involved. It would be just us and a developer, and that we'd create the value, and then it would go to other places within the township, and we could sell those, and we'd have preservation, and we would maintain our way of life. And they really liked that as a model. But it never took off. I think how many, well, Warren was gonna be here tonight, his son's 14th birthday. I told him I could handle this question. So, as far as how many projects have occurred since then, it's a handful. I'm guessing 2 or 3. So the private sector, the development community, never used it as a tool. The farming community, the sending areas have contacted, at least initially, and had the zoning officer at the time from Brook Township would go and determine how many development rights, and then you would be put on a sheet. And if a developer wanted to exercise those rights in the receiving area, they would contact the township, get that list, and then just start going down and making those phone calls and making offers. And if the private landowner wanted to sell those rights, they could do so.
And Warren was telling me that if you have TDRs certified, it's essentially an easement.
So yes, there was one that occurred many years ago where they did sell their development rights, and it was recorded on the deed that there's no further, I think it allowed for the subdivision of 2 more parcels on that property, but in essence, it's preserved. Where again, this is John Goodall, Brandywine Conservancy speaking, where I get confused, and I don't always like this, is that I just think memorializing it through a program, through a conservation or an agricultural easement is a very clean and simple mechanism to ensure that there is no, skullduggery, or a mishap that can occur in the future.
So essentially, if you are a farmer and you go to township, say, I want to find out how many TDRs are on my farm.
Sure.
And they say, okay, you have 10, and you get them certified. You're not getting any compensation at the time.
Correct.
You're just sitting on them, but your farm is preserved.
No.
Because that's what Warren was saying.
Warren-
It's not
Warren
preserved
is-
until you actually sell them, right?
That's correct. That is correct. Now, there's also another wrinkle to this whole thing, because preservation it's not complicated, but it has to be done in a correct way. And for the county and for the state and for the conservancy, if you sell one of those, now we have a complication. Because what's your value really now? Is it all those TDRs plus your buy right? What do you really got here? And when you bring an appraiser in and you start to try to tease that apart, it can get pretty darn complicated. And, at least from my perspective, and again, I think it's all in this room, we all want to see Honeybrook the way it is. We want to see it preserved. We also want to see the farming community compensated for those values. But when you start mixing different programs, like the TDR program, with your allowable zoning, with appraised value evaluation and preservation, it can get convoluted. So where Warren is correct is if you sell one, you are now not eligible currently to go through the county program.
Was that always the case? Because
It's always been the
I
case.
feel like there was definitely people certified for TDRs in like
There was
2000.
one property where they got all the way through it, and it had TDRs that it sold, and he had a remaining 5, and we had to work out a deal because it had gotten to the end of it. The farmer wanted to have it happen, the township and the county wanted it to happen, everybody wanted it to happen, but nobody had known about this. This is where it can get very messy.
Right, because
And
it's not.
personally speaking, again, I say personally because this is just John Goodall, not even the Brandywine Conservancy's position. I feel in this township, with the tools that you have, maybe that layer of TDR isn't a tool, it only complicates and it hasn't alleviated because the demand was not created. I think it was done with the best intentions, and it was a tool that was offered to the farming community at the time because it didn't look like the other tools were going to work. The other tools have worked. This one hasn't. I don't think we should blame the tool. We just need to understand, do we really want it in our carpenter's belt anymore? Or do we want to put it in a drawer somewhere and maybe pull it out again in the needed time? That's again, you're going through your comprehensive plan. And that's where, your township supervisors can mull this over and look at the pros and the cons. It's a great tool, but it comes with complications. I do some carpentry, so I think of like a mic box or something like that, where I'm pretty good at it, but not always, and I get running on it, and all of a sudden bad things happen because it's not the right tool for it.
Yeah.
So, I hope that explains it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a better understanding of it because it does sound really complicated and it is talked about in the update as the township buying them, and I'm trying to wrap my head around how that
It's
would work.
another, again, there's a list. We talked about this last meeting. How do we create demand again? How do we get this thing going? What tool's gonna be the best one? You have a list right now of farmers that at that time were interested in selling those development rights. If you walk in and say, hey, we wanna do this, we want to buy your development rights, and if you do it in a way where you do an appraisal on the property right now, and you say, okay, that's what it's worth, and then you reflect that per acre value to the TDRs. There's ways to do this. Again, you have to create the interest to have the dialogue to see if if it's like spaghetti and it sticks. It may not have any interest.
The zoning ordinance, it doesn't really talk about appraisals or anything like that when it comes to TDRs. It talks about gross acres times a formula to
And
determine.
that's
the
where this
TDRs.
is going outside the box. Now, for the township, this township's never bought development rights through the TDR program.
Right.
Do we know any, Rob, that have in this township? Or not this township, this county?
I couldn't comment on that, no.
Yeah, I think Mannheim's done it, where they were banking them, that's in Lancaster, we can do some research on that, but.
But yeah, there's no appraisal or anything referenced. It's a gross lot area, you deduct out like the buildings and things like that, and you multiply that by like 0.52, and that gives you your TDRs.
That gives you, and again, that's the way it's been working. It gave you a list of your TDRs, and as I explained previously, the private market determined the value.
Right.
Now we're saying, hey, if the municipality wishes to buy them, how do you create that value? John Goodall is saying this is a way you can do it because you were asking a question. I'm not representing the Board of Supervisors or the township on this. I'm just saying that, look, you have got a list of farmers interested in selling TDRs. You have a township that's not really interested in seeing more density being provided in the township. This perhaps could be a solution to both sides, where the township finds a value, and this is how you could do it, that then would remove those TDRs and retire them. Or bank them and use them in other ways, if they so felt like it. Personally, again, it's a lot of John Goodall talking here. I believe in retiring them. I don't like them being moved in a township like this. With the comprehensive plan that you're going through right now with the borough, maybe there's an opportunity to move density into the borough where I feel is a very appropriate place to have it, if there's places for it. It's pretty built out there. They may not feel the same
You have to have a
way.
market
John,
for somebody to
Karen?
buy them.
This is definitely an important topic, and I appreciate you bringing it up, but we got a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's
And
fine.
I gotta
Darn
get
you,
to
pulling me
one-
down that rabbit hole.
Yep, I'll let you guys, I hope you guys can pick up later on that. Thank you. Anything else? This other room?
Shane, can I ask a question? So in the last BOS meeting, the township solicitor had a document in the packet for the BOS, and it basically said that she performed some research in response to the inquiry about the Land Preservation Committee options related to the open tax rate modification. And you also have that on tonight's agenda.
Yep.
But, like, there was no link, like, any information on paper? Is that available, or is that just going to be for open discussion tonight?
Yeah, that's something we're gonna discuss tonight.
Okay, so it's just,
That's our next thing. I'll go over the summary of what we understand
Okay,
so far.
all right, thank you.
All right, anybody else? Okay, that brings us up to the land preservation plan update. We have Rob Daniels here from the Conservancy tonight, standing in for Sarah Sharp. And we've got one correction on there already, and we have other notes or concerns. Or I guess the first question is there any concern that would be, we've covered that we can approve it and still have clerical fixes made. So we'll have a list of those to include. But is there anything that's an outright blocker?
Does this plan need to include what we're going to do about the earning tax?
No, by the time the plan's approved, that may be, well, what? I'm of the opinion not, because the powers on that are firmly with the supervisors. The next thing on the list is to talk about that. And our role would simply be to inform them of what's possible or make a recommendation.
So the language in the plan will assume it continues beyond today, beyond.
One thing that wouldn't change is that the referendum would still be a thing. The only thing that's changeable is the rate. There are some townships that have changed it effectively annually through, just through ordinance changes.
Yeah, I just want the text of this to be clear of what we're wanting to do to the best of our knowledge now.
Yep. You have a recommendation?
Not that I want to include in the plan, no. But I'm just asking a question, that do we need to do that? Do we need to make a decision before we finalize this?
Yeah.
Those are two
I
good
didn't-
questions.
Yep. I didn't have anything to put in the plan at the moment either, or a recommendation there. We don't have any data to make any kind of a big recommendation in the plan. And an important thing to remember about the plan is that this isn't something that becomes a law. This isn't something that becomes, this is definitely what's going to happen. This is a guideline. It's kind of a hope. It's an aspiration. I'll just make this table loose. It's something that, we hope to be working towards. And I think it nicely covers what the real aims are of the program.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I know you've got some other
The
things that.
grammatical spelling stuff, I can follow up with you or Sarah on. I don't, and we do have
Yeah.
one on the agenda, I don't want to take time for that right now. It's not, it's critical, it's important, but don't have to do it now.
feel good about the plan. Shannon, I think made a good point about how this isn't a law. So it's just sort of guidance. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bunch of recommendations, wishes, and options. Well, bearing in mind that we'll be sending over some corrections, and the spirit of the plan seems to be in alignment with the goals of the township. Is there a motion to recommend it to the supervisors for approval?
I'll make a motion.
Second? Favor say aye. Aye. All this. Okay, so the EIT legal update. So I asked Beth Cole and Warren to look into this a few months back, and the summary of the finding that we got back from Beth, our township solicitor, is that the supervisors can adopt an ordinance to decrease the amount of tax being imposed, or to change the amount of tax being imposed. A similar strategy could be used later to increase it back up to the amount of the original referendum. Other municipalities have included a public hearing as part of the ordinance enactment, but none is explicitly required under my identified justification. But it could be a way to make clear that the public was given formal opportunity to speak about the matter, and I'm definitely all for that. So based upon all that, we've got a couple things we can do. We can make a recommendation to the supervisors to make a specific change to the tax rate, or we can let them know that this is a power that they've got, and tell them that the power is theirs. Anybody have any thoughts on in favor of or in opposition to taking that one way or the other?
So how would they go with the tax, if they wouldn't,
Yep. One of the chief concerns that's been a concern all along about making any changes to this is that however it decreases, subsequently increasing it, should the need arise in the future, would probably be a difficult proposition. And certainly unpopular.
Shane, the way I see it is that we're not, we're an advisory board. We're not the ones making the legal decisions. So we should be advising our board of supervisors with all the information possible,
Yep.
so that they are informed to make the informed decision. I don't know what information we can provide them now to show that it should go down or stay the same or anything. This is a discussion that we had at the last meeting where we were trying to get evidence together and research and see what's going on with the plan.
Yep.
And if there's not a wide acceptance of the plan, which is going to be part of our outreach next year, then that's definitely a topic of discussion. So, but just doing it arbitrarily right now, we can make a recommendation, but if we're not going to equip the board of supervisors with any kind of information to go on, I don't think that's fair to them. I don't think we're doing their job if we do that. Just my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to see the public discussion of this before we make a recommendation. I don't think we have to draft an ordinance and then say, community, what do you think about this? I think you should be gathering information in advance. Yes, ma'am.
Susan, you're in favor of a public meeting?
Before the ordinances are drafted.
Let's make it very administrative, but I agree with you.
All right. So the feeling seems to be, we don't make a recommendation until we're sure we've got good data, and if we see anything, have a full public comment period before making any kind of recommendation. That makes sense to me too. Any other thoughts on that front?
I don't think so.
All right. 2025 annual report. We've got a note that that's due in February, and draft should be ready by the LPC meeting discussion. So I'll put that draft together and bring them on for our January meeting. Next piece is the farmer's breakfast / other events planning. So over the past several years, the farmer's breakfast hasn't had a huge attendance. A couple times it's been snowed out, or effectively snowed out, as in a lot of the people who said they were coming didn't make it because the weather was just bad. So do we want to have a farmer's breakfast in January, plan for another kind of event, or we figure out multiple events of some other kind, like other smaller events, if we can find some volunteers to host them.
John, what feedback are you hearing from the Amish community about how they view the value of that event?
I don't know too much about it. We get the letter, we know about it, and that's about it.
So there hasn't been anything said about,
One said the breakfast is not as good and not at the time as it was, but
well, that may be valuable information to know in terms of attendance.
I told my wife, "Baby, when I was you started, I don't have girls," she said. And I'm sure Sally would do it, but her girls are leaving, getting married. I don't really feel we should just keep going with the breakfast meetings, but have bigger attendance.
I believe if we had a better menu, that more people would come.
And another thing was, I think it was the week of something Harrisburg or soon. That's why a lot of people didn't show up. Would it be better like in the first week in, last week in January, or the first week in February? I don't know.
opportunity to maybe have you guys go to the Amish? Like, if there's some kind of gathering, if there's an auction or some kind of gathering that maybe your committee could go talk to the Amish community about the program, instead of them coming to you.
That's what other events are gonna be discussed, and how we're gonna organize it.
Hardware store opening? Yeah, the grand opening of Honeyburg Hardware, that's a good point. That's,
Put some hot dogs down or something, feed somebody, give them some coffee and a hot dog and
Is that gonna be open this year yet?
yeah, August.
I think it
Yeah, I think they're still
before
open.
Christmas, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
okay. Yeah, I was asking Martha, who works up there, about it. She was saying December was what they were aiming for.
I know the bank, the Burnham Bank, they want to be in by Thanksgiving. That's always how the latest now, but then I talked with Leon, and he said, it was probably about, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, he said, they ain't sure we're gonna make it by Christmas.
Okay.
So, maybe it's changed now, I don't know.
So is the bank gonna be inside the hardware store, or is there gonna be a separate section of the building?
It'll be a separate section, I think.
With a separate entrance?
I think.
Yep. Yeah, they got a drive through there.
I haven't looked
Yeah.
at the labels.
I keep driving by. I'm excited. I'll be
Well, like
able to-
grocery stores have bank branches in them, but they don't have a separate entrance.
Yeah, this is kind of strip mall like, but just for the weekend.
There's a farm still back at Elmer's on January the 21st. There was a farm still, but he's selling his equipment,
Well, consider.
yeah, on January 21st. And when would the breakfast meeting be? Is that January, which date?
That's on the next page there. January 20th.
Yeah,
So that would be the day before.
yeah.
You also got the fire auction, it's a little bit of ways, but it's another big gathering of,
Yeah, that's usually in May, right? Let's see. So that's, yeah. So that's 3 different events where we might be able to make an appearance. We're not running the event, but we would be present and we wouldn't be doing the cooking or buying food. Unless we're doing something like, land preservation information and pancakes. Well, I can connect with the people who would be involved in that. Does anybody know who would be the contact for the mud sale?
You know,
yeah.
yeah.
Just, Mike?
Right now, we have Don Klein.
Okay.
He's the president, and the chair of that is Ike Fisher.
Okay. Ed Fisher from the Tech Craft.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. All right. Should be able to get contact with him. How's everybody feel about that? This year we try something new?
Absolutely. What do you want to do for the meeting then? Just make it an evening meeting for January then, or?
That would probably make it easier for us to get here. I won't have to take that day off work.
If I may, again, just something, just throwing an idea out, since you do a farmer's breakfast, right? Everybody's kind of used to farmer's breakfast. What if you did either meeting at the same time or maybe a little bit earlier and did, again, just a small little sandwiches or something like that, just to spread the word and maybe, just an idea.
Yep. Yeah. It's,
I mean, if we're trying to get some type of handle on the involvement, I would just push as many things as you can within a year's period of time to, do we have the interest or don't we?
Is it just the venue that was bad, or you just didn't have the attendance?
we've had problems with both weather and food in past years.
Didn't you have a backup date, like in case there's a weather, like slash, we'll have it this other day, or is that not good to do?
Yeah, it's something we haven't tried.
I mean, if the weather's bad, because my birthday's in January, and I've always had to redo birthdays because of the weather, so.
Yep.
Or we could do like a pizza thing in the evening sometime.
All right. You thinking still winter or on the summer?
Well,
Could we do that in
It's-
January rather than a breakfast? And
I
then
was thinking I could do it at my house, you know, we got a big rec room and a place for horses.
Okay.
I don't know, it's just a thought.
John, would you still be coming out?
I'm sorry?
Would you still be coming out for the meeting then?
Absolutely.
Okay, because we could also change maybe what John presents to make it more applicable to the farmer. Because this year was just an overview, which was nice to me, but maybe some more of the particulars to get them more interested in the program.
Yeah, we've had a lot of very, very content over the years about produce auctions and estate planning. That's a good one. Soil quality, milk, full thing on dairy farm in 1 year.
how many people can the room hold?
Oh, a couple hundred.
That's a serious plan. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in church, we have church in there, but yeah, with children and everything, probably be 150, 200 people.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Pizza and ice cream.
Nice.
I think that was one thing about, it's cold out, snowing, and you have horses. A couple of people did actually put their horses in my barn and walked out. Yeah, I don't care what you do.
All right. No, thank you.
You know, you think about it once and I think
That,
say so. Does everybody get a flower, even if they're not even if they didn't preserve their farm?
oh, yeah. Everybody who's a priority landowner will get one, and I think people who've already preserved, it's a pretty long list. We get a mix of, people who are already have in the club, and then people who are thinking about it. Every once in a while, we'll get, one year we had a couple of state and maybe a federal official. I don't know if we have a federal, that was separate then. But yeah, we've had state representatives, and state senators here before, for it as well. Yeah, if you're up for that, we can look at that, and you have enough room for people to park in January?
You should have, yeah. Yeah, we can park it on the barn, back in, yeah, or depending on the weather. If it's frozen, it's no problem.
Yep, yeah, it's frozen and not snowy here in good shape. If it's snowy and muddy,
Yeah.
that, That gets long.
You do a backup date.
There's some people that ask me about this meeting using it, and I think pretty much because it's the daytime, I've got to work, and yeah, I really don't care really where we have it.
Okay. So maybe, it might make sense to kind of take it out of sync with the January meeting, have an evening meeting for this committee in January, and then deal with the event separately. Maybe a week later, on a Tuesday or Wednesday? What do you, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I know another wedding start in first week in February,
Okay.
and they're going to the end of March. So that's on a Tuesday or Thursday. So probably really one is maybe on a Friday. I don't know. Friday evening? Probably. Maybe the last week in January. Maybe you could do it then on a Monday or a Tuesday.
Okay. Well, Friday makes sense. I mean, that'll be the end of the week.
Yeah, and you don't have to go to work next morning, you can sleep in.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay.
That's just my thoughts.
Yep. No, that makes some good sense there.
Hey, Shane,
Do we? Yeah.
just a thought, there are a number of like state grants that are out there for farmers, like through the State Farmers Bureau and stuff, and I know Katie Muth had posted, or either Katie Muth or Dan Williams had posted a number of grants. It might be helpful to have an organization like that come in and talk to the farmers about, assistance that's out there for them.
Okay. Yeah, we talked, have we ever done anything like that, John? Yeah.
We had the Conservation District and NRCS one breakfast come in and talk about the programs that are available for grants, but not the Farm Bureau.
We haven't done that one for a while.
We had Dairy Excellence come in to talk about their program and how they can fund different programs. So, I mean, what you're hitting on is what we've tried in the past, which is just adding to the breakfast by not only talking about preservation, but a topic that interests them, whether it's funding or whether it's a disease that's coming their way, or corn prices or milk prices. Just something that resonates to come in. But it's a great idea to bring the Farm Bureau in.
Isn't there a program right now on North Storage, like building outside somewhere?
Yeah, there's funding available for manure storage, yeah. Again, there's the NRCS programs that are out there, and then there's some private funding sources, yeah.
All right. So we've got concepts of a plan, at least for an evening pizza and ice cream party at John R.'s house, probably a Friday evening toward the end of January, with a provisional bad weather date. And we can add all that to the invitation, and say by when we'd be letting people know. So when they RSVP, they'd have to let us know how to. All right, and do you want to take that and follow up offline? So at least you and me, and John Goodall.
Say that again?
Just saying, you and me and John R. can follow up offline about that, pull Warren into it. And anybody else want to be on the small ad hoc subcommittee for pizza party? And what's your name?
Marion Perez.
Marion Perez?
Mhm.
Nice. Yeah, well, talk to me after.
Mhm.
Nice. So moving right along, we have an application for the preservation of a 16-acre farm on Beaver Dam Road. This is a matter involving the purchase of real estate, so it is not something that we can discuss publicly, and we need to switch to an executive session and have a talk with John Bill. After the executive session, we're also looking at coming back to that and possibly deciding whether or not we can recommend to support the project or not. So we're going to pause the planning committee, or the zoning hearing board does. We're going to kind of pause the public portion of the meeting and we go out in the lobby. Unless y'all are done with this.
Shane, yeah, with the microphones and stuff, you make better.